Thank you, Ted and Kara. I'm honored to welcome our first guest to Pay It Forward. He's a great friend of ours and one of the first to support our cause to help the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. From Traver Connect, please welcome our keynote speaker for day one, John Traver.
Joining us this morning for our morning keynote here at Pay It Forward is John Traver, who is the CEO at Traver Connect, a great friend of the fixed ops community and also a legend in our industry. John, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, thank you for having us. You and Gene, the show continues to impress, to educate, to grow, and what a privilege it is for us to be able to share this opening message in our November show.
John, it's a long time in coming, and we're so honored to have you with us today and really set the pace for the entire event. So you have so much going on there, by the way, at Traver Connect, and so much you're doing for the retail, for the dealer industry, especially in these turbulent times, where dealers are now faced with, a very different environment than a few months ago in terms of the inventories on new and pre-owned, and all the focus right now on fixed and on service and on personnel and being able to handle the phones and be able to handle things properly. So it's probably never more important than right now, John. So with that, the show is all yours, my friend.
Thank you, Ted. It is our privilege. Well, as you just said, Ted, I mean, we kind of look forward, but we're also looking back, and it's almost like you're reading my mail, because as I started thinking about how I could send this message, one that would sort of be an umbrella for all of us. So every dealer that's watching right now, what does this message have to do with you? Any vendor that's providing services to our dealer body, what does this message have to do with you? There's one thing that happens on a regular basis that it's a touch point that every customer seems to lean towards or use, and it's the phone. And I'm going to talk about that today. But before I do, I kind of started thinking, how could I unify us quickly? And I began to think back to 2020, the year that for some is more unforgettable than, maybe something they want to remember. But I know there was one thing last year in 2020 that I enjoyed, and maybe you did too. And it's when ESPN chose to air The Last Dance, that whole great Bulls dynasty. You remember in May it started, it was 8 or 10 pieces. And of course, that Bulls dynasty went on and won a bunch of championships. And of course, we remember the great Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Phil Jackson, and that whole cast and crew. Very familiar faces. And it was a fun time. It was a great escape as we were all at home through the late spring and early summer that year. The question is, what was it about that dynasty that really stuck out? And the thing is some of you that are avid Bulls fans or basketball fans, you might remember the triangle offense. And the triangle offense, I got it there on your screen. I'm showing you on the left side of the key. We got 3 players who that ball can rotate, and there's still 2 players behind on the other side of the key, top of the key, that can be part of that offense. Here it is. It didn't just run on the left side of the key, though. It ran on the right side of the key. Or it could rotate anywhere on the floor, and that offense seemed to give the Bulls this distinct advantage in scoring. And, of course, their defense was always incredible. So you say, John, what does that have to do with this opening message? Well, I think the triangle offense for the Bulls was a stealth weapon. But you too have an opportunity to have a stealth weapon similar to that triangle offense in your service department for your dealership, or using the products and services that the vendors of this industry build, support, and provide. So this offense, if you think about what Jackson had, it was really Tex Winter that was behind it, and it actually came from USC, if you want the whole scoop. But they had 3 goals. One was they wanted to maximize the efficiency of every possession, every touch that they had. They wanted to get the best shot possible. This wasn't about half-court shots or three-point shots, inside-out offense. It wasn't that. It was, how do we get the best shot? And the irony of this, everyone, was this. Nobody would argue. They had the greatest player in the game on their team. Ted, am I right?
Oh,
I mean,
all the way. Yep.
I mean, hands down. So why wouldn't you just base the whole thing on the best player in the game? They didn't do it. Some of you have incredible people. Some of you are incredible people. And you're going, wait a minute. But I used to say, he's the man. You remember that saying? He's the man. Oh, he's the man. I used to say, you know what? If you're the man, eventually you're a dead man. The whole idea is greater is he who can get 10 people to do their job than he who does the job of 10 people. Does that make sense? And so they knew, hey, look, they're going to box in one Michael. They'll double team Michael. And so what does this have to do with service? A lot. What I want to do is show you that there's a shop loading offense that's sitting there waiting for you every single day. And Phil's offense was, like we said, maximize the efficiency of every possession. But your offense, it should be maximizing the efficiency of every opportunity. Like, yes, you have drive ups. Yes, you have calls. Yes, you have digital leads. Yes, you have a stack of ROs that are due for service or have an open recall. You name it. Those opportunities, how do we maximize that, right? You got inbound and outbound opportunities, drive ups, calls, and digital, like I said. The question is this: when you think of efficiency, some of us think, okay, I'm just going to say it. Some of us think kiosks. Some of us think AI. And granted, those are worth discussing. Those are worth talking about. The question is this, though: what business are you in? So whatever it is you decide to use, my advice to you, if I were you, is I would remind myself over and over and over, we want to be beyond transactional. We want to be as close to repeat and referral as we can be. The second thing was get the best shot possible. You want to know what the best shot is in automotive service today? That's a shop loaded every day with preset appointments. Just like a showroom floor with a BDC, quality showroom traffic, we got quality service lane traffic. Customers who know why they're coming, that we've prepped properly on the phone, advisors that greet properly, do a proper walk around. That whole experience is organized and efficient. To me, your best shot is a layup close to the rim in a shop that's loaded with preset appointments. So you got online schedulers. I mean, we answer in 14 of them today, 14 different schedulers we support.
Wow.
Appointment coordinators. Yeah, Ted, I mean, it's just exploded over the years. Appointment coordinators, those are the folks that, now you're crossing over the water going, okay, do I have somebody other than an advisor take the call? We can talk about that. But for today, I want to hammer home this offense and make sure you walk away with it. So, the last thing was Jackson was not dependent on Jordan. Yeah, he knew he could make the game winner, but he was dependent on his system. Your system, your triangle offense, I'm submitting to you, starts out with a service BDC system. It could be in your dealership, it could be virtual, it could be combo, but you need to define that triangle on a daily basis. So that being said, when you think of Traver Connect, hopefully you think of T. And so I thought, let's give them 3 T's for that triangle for their service BDC offense. So the first one is touch. The second one is going to be time. And the third one, it's always got to involve money. So we'll call it till. Touch, time, and till. Ted, will that work?
I love the triangle offense there, John. Keep rolling with it, baby. I love it.
All right. So let's unpack touch then, right? So what is this touch we speak of, right? Well, it all starts with catching the call. I mean, to me, it starts with the volume of calls that we all receive at the store. And so then the question is, what is our modus operandi? Is it just be efficient, just get through the calls, make them as short as possible? Or are we trying to actually elevate the experience, set the bar right there in the call? And I would just submit to you this. You've heard me talk about this perhaps before, but HFK is a great compass. It's a great guide. H is helpful. Those calls should be helpful. Your coordinators cannot be helpful unless they're properly trained. So make sure we're educating them initially, educating them ongoing, because you cannot help somebody who needs first aid if nobody taught you first aid. They got to understand our business. They got to understand bulletins versus recalls versus scheduled maintenance. They got to understand what they're doing, difference between express. You get it. All the different things that go into setting appointments. Friendly because, Ted, all these customers are so kind all the time, right? Not really. So we basically say, look, we're going to hire folks that have 2-inch thick skin and they're friendly even when the customer isn't. You know what I'm saying? They're like friendly rhinos, if you will. So that there is a bit of hiring and sourcing that goes on there. And I could talk about hiring, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to talk about a template to win with an offense. And then last is kind. Kind, as I always say, it's the Ritz-Carlton thing. It's doing the things you didn't have to do. Where's the restroom, sir? Ted, if you worked at the Ritz, you would never say down the hall on the right. You would say right this way, sir. And you'd lead me to the door to the point where I said, hey, Ted, I got it from here. Thank you. Right? So kind is doing things you don't have to do. And to me in the call, it's things like asking what the mileage is on the vehicle at the right time to see what else is due so that they're alert and they know this before they get in the drive. See, I'm going to get to that in just a sec. So to me, touch is a dedicated team. It's a well-educated team. It's a cultured team. Like there's things that they do and they have the right equipment. There's nothing like, we're going through some renovations at the house, and I can't tell you how many times I watch workers struggle because they don't have the right tools. And I can't help but think about our teams out there trying to get it done. Do they have the right tools to get the job done? So that's touch. Now there's some obstacles. I just want to make sure we all acknowledge it. Here's call source. Here's a recent study, real simple. I'm just going to give you a few. 1 in 4 of those calls that hit your switchboard, those are for sales. But 3 in 4 are for fixed ops. That's why we're here talking. 30% of those calls don't get answered. They either get bounced to the wrong place or they're on hold too long. And so I'm not sure how committed your clients are, your customers, and they keep calling. But I think we all know at some point there's erosion there of opportunity. 40% result in a scheduled appointment. Really hard to get my head around that one. But as I listen to these calls, companies like CallSource, yeah, here's the good news though, Ted. 2015, it was 35. 2019, it's 52.
Wow. But
as you know, I've talked about this. That 52 should be 90. So Ted, we're talking about doubling the size of a shop. It shouldn't be 52. Those are intenders that are calling, right? They're not tire kicking. This isn't a sales call. This is a service call. It's already a foregone conclusion. Yeah.
John, I would think that, just my observation, with the last year with COVID and all, I would think there are more intenders now calling ahead rather than just coming into the shop, calling ahead to reserve that time to make an appointment. And I think so much happens from that opportunity there.
So we have same store sales call volume here as a statistic, Ted. We are literally 161% year over year same store call volume.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about staffing and chasing. I mean, yes, the stores are being covered up. So great question. So we got touch, right? Now we're going to go to time. Ted, time is an eye opener. So there's customers' time. Now, Ted, I'm going to take you back to 5 years old, okay? It's Humpty Dumpty time, buddy, all right? You know, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Is that about how it went for you? That's kind of how I remember. Yeah, that's how I remember it. Okay, well, here's the thing. That's the service drive every day, Ted. That is. Because here's the thing. When BDC agents are not checking for time mileage recommendation in every appointment, you're actually creating a future time crisis. You go, well, how can that be? For who? Well, first of all, for the customer. Because your advisors unpack things that the customer needs, but they weren't planning to be there that long, right? All four say aye. And if we could hear everybody right now, they would all say, for sure. They'd say, yeah, that's true. So let me show you how quick it happens. Somebody calls in, Ted, real common example, lube oil filter, and I need an inspection. That is super common. Would you agree?
Yep, of course.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to think, let's do as little as we possibly can, right? But here's the thing. If we ask for the mileage on this particular vehicle, they had 34,000 miles on it. So they're technically due for their 30K. But so this is that point where if there's no triangle offense to check for mileage, you're going to miss that and you're just sending them in. And so they're thinking, by the way, how long does that lube oil filter take and that inspection? Can you do it within an hour? Because I really don't have a ton of time. Most people are going to say yes. So now they get in. And by the way, most customers, if you tell them what they're due for on the phone, 40%, almost half, will say yes. And I'm just going to call that an extra half hour. And you and I both know a lube oil filter and inspection plus a 30K, the impact's going to be more than a half hour. But I want to hit it nice and low, right, on 40%. So if you're out there listening and you're taking half an hour times 40% of your ROs, do the math real quick. So, you ask on the call, let them plan ahead. So the first impact of time in your triangle offense is seeing the customer's time and how what you do or what you don't do in that call affects them, right? So the second one, Ted, is advisor's time. So you got customers' time is impacted, but now you got the advisors. The thing is, when you make the decision to take the calls out of the drive, you're actually putting something back in the drive, time. And it's precious time. It's time to serve, to listen, to walk, to understand, to sell to customers. And you put it in the hands of the advisors. About 2+ hours a day across the board per advisor, Ted. So this adds up. The question is, what's the impact there? We don't go backwards. So is it another half hour? Is it another hour? Is it another line per RO? What is the impact of time? So part of your triangle offense should impact time both in the call and in the drive, if that makes sense. The third, God bless Tully Williams. Tully, this is for you, buddy. Total sold hours. When you start taking those two that I just touched on, half hour, because we do a time mileage lookup and recommendation on inbound calls. We're going to impact 40% of our ROs. Then you get advisors that get an extra, 2 hours or better a day to sell because calls aren't blowing them up all day. What is that, another half hour in RO? Is it more than that? And so if you take the average store today, NADA, 1,525 ROs a month is the average store today per NADA as of last year. And you said, okay, we're just going to move it a half an hour. And I'm going to use a effective labor rate of $100. So that's $50. Ted, in a 1,500 RO store, that's $75,000 a month in customer pay. That's $900,000 a year. So that's the second part of your offense where now all of a sudden you're getting these layups, you're getting these shots, you're going, how are we doing this? We made one move. We took the calls that we were getting, we centralized them, whether it's in our store, it's virtual with a company, or it's a combo, it doesn't matter. But we're getting more out of those calls, and we're enabling the people that are facing off with our customers to do what they need to do. The last is till. I said we got touch, we got time, and now the till. Here's a typical service department, one that's really close to us here in the Dallas market. They're open bell to bell, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7. Saturday, they open 7 to 4. Aggressive store, not a typical store, but not atypical either. This store, knowing its RO count, they need about 5 BDC agents. They, like most stores, they start out with the conversation. They say, okay, they don't realize the hours they're open when they make their game plan. See, they're open 12 hours each day, 9. That's 69 hours a week. That's almost 300 hours a month, 4.3 weeks per month. They go out and hire 3 BDC agents, Ted. They go, hey, we'll hire 3 people. And so those people are going to work up to 40 hours a week. If they're there when they're scheduled, 40 hours a week, they're probably not going to pay overtime, right? So the first problem you got is 40 is less than 69, Ted. Yep. So you're still 30 hours a week, you're still sending calls to the drive. You go, well, wait a minute, let's start moving people around. Well, you only have 3 and you need 5. So if we start having somebody work nights, first of all, you got to find people that'll work. You see how it gets noisy? So if you just said Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 40 hours, I'll show you. That's 172 hours a month. Now you're 200 hours short a month of coverage. So what started out as a great idea, you're not really covering everything. No matter how you cut it, if you're spending around $14 an hour, by the time you pay fringe, you're going to spend $3,000 a month. Do the math. 3 people, that's $9,000 a month. You're probably going to have variable pay on top of that. By the way, tools, training, turnover, all that, also plan for that. And it's not that you shouldn't, it's just no going in. So if you take that $9,000 and you divide it by the hours they work, that 172, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Ted, that's $52 an hour you're spending. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Okay, so watch this. All right, so let's offset it. So we need to generate more than $52 an hour of gross profit, right, to be break even with our service BDC. So there it is. So if we have one of those 3 people, Ted, once an hour, make a time mileage recommendation with a yes behind it, we generated $52 in revenue. If we have 2 of them, we generated $104 in revenue. So remember, they're going to take about 10 calls an hour, 3 people, that's 30 calls. If just 2 of those 30 ask and customer says yes, there you are. If your gross profit is 50%, domestic store, I'll start at the bottom, right? $104 in revenue at 50% is $52. Hey, Ted, guess what? You broke even. So if 2 of your 30, you got it. Okay, watch this. If each of them just have one an hour, 3 agents, guess what? We're over the 52. We're actually making $26 an hour, Ted, at $172 a month. That's $4,500 a month. That's $51,000 a year. The BDC is actually generating after paying for itself. And that's with each agent doing one time mileage recommendation an hour. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So remember, these are also just the phone TMRs. Because remember, if I say to you on the call and you say, nah, I think I'm okay. And then you get in the drive and you're talking to that person who's well-trained, right? And has time to spend with you and say, hey, actually, you're due for your 30K. I can do the inspection. I can do the oil change. And you're hearing it a second time. There's another percentage of people that say, you know what? I'm here already. It's maintenance. Let's get it done. Does that make sense?
Of course.
So we're not even counting those, right? So in order to get there, all I would say is you need an offense and you need to have the right tools in that offense. So the 3 T's, again, it is touch, which is helpful, friendly, kind. It's tools. It's time. It's the customer's time, the advisor's time, and your total time. And it's till. You want to offset the cost per hour with new revenue per hour via time mileage recommendation. So Ted, as we've done this for years, 30 plus years front end to back end, and now 12 years on the service side, we said to ourselves, how do we take what we're doing here, because it's 60,000 square feet, how do we take and put this in the store where they have what they need? And so our answer was service BDC capsule. And so, but we had problems, right? And some of this I shared with you and Gene over the years. I mean, the first one was the phones. They all have different phone systems. And what if we could just give them a headset so that when they got a call at the switchboard, it could go to the cloud and it could point to their team in the dealership and they could handle these calls, or if their people worked at home. So that was our first hurdle, and we overcame it with the BDC capsule. In fact, we did it in a way where there's no click charges. Literally, I've seen models out there, and it's like the more you use it, the bigger your bill gets. This is flat. There are no click charges, it's flat. Yes. 2 was, what about the queues? So like we go to Ted Ing's Motors and he's got an import store and a domestic, but he's got one service BDC team. So when your 5 agents get the calls, Ted, you want the Toyota calls to pop as Toyota and the Ford calls to pop as Toyota or Ford? Yes. And so this system, or even a Spanish queue or whatever, it does that. So we had to overcome that, and we built that out. Real world examples. Now we got people on the phones, but just because we have them there doesn't mean they know what they're doing. So how are we going to develop these folks? What does the training look like? Both self-led and live instruction. And that's kind of our pursuit here. It's part of what we offer in the capsule. And then the agent, what's their journey look like as they manage this? This thing has evolved over the years to where we can guide them through a 3 to 4 minute call and build a ton of value in that call for them through the capsule and what we do. And then now you get workforce management. So like you see the red there with that 41, that's where they're offlining calls. So they can now start seeing in real time by time of day, okay, we need some extra help here, whether it's adding people or adding virtual, they can see it. Who's productive? So you just assume everybody's rowing the boat at the same speed with the same strength. And it's like, well, we got one person here at 79 calls. We got another person here at 9 calls. And so you can see what the productivity is, average talk time, conversion rates, all in one screen. And then we get to the time mileage recommendation and some of the revenue, the till, where you can see the impact overall. You can see it at a granular level, whatever you need to see. And then probably my favorite screen is, what's your average hold time right now? So this URL can go up on a TV, Ted. It can sit on a desktop. Yes, where a service director, service manager can see this stuff in real time, whether it's one person or it's 25, 30 people, it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's been a journey to where they have the suite. So to me, the triangle offense, it needs to touch those 3 T's. It needs to have tools like this behind it. And there might be something else out there that can help folks. But every product, every service offered in the industry today comes through the phone. Three out of 4 of those calls are going to start, those ROs are going to start with a call. So that triangle offense, to me, there it is. In automotive service, here it is. Remember, maximize the efficiency every opportunity you get. Your best shot is a shop that's loaded with preset appointments. And remember, I think the triangle offense in automotive service, it depends on an effective service BDC system. Here's a great quote. If you rake, you get leaves. If you dig, you get diamonds. John Piper said that. I would tell you this. If you run a triangle offense for service BDC, you get quality preset appointments. You catch the calls, you load the shop. Ted, always our pleasure.
John, never more important than right now today to be loading that shop with all the opportunities that are coming in on the phone. You just explained it to us very vividly. And that, John, I love the triangle offense. If our viewers want to learn more about implementing that triangle and getting the right tools to do that, which, John, I know you have tweaked and developed over the many, many years, how do they go about reaching you?
Well, yes, please call us. Call us, numbers right there. We want to help. Sometimes our help, Ted, is as simple as just understanding what they're trying to do and giving them better advice. But yes, certainly call us. We'd love to hear your story and try and come alongside you and help.
John Traver, the CEO at Traver Connect. John, thank you for all you do for our industry, for Pay It Forward at our last event, at this event. And I want to wish you, your family, and of course, Traver Connect, a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Ted. Always our pleasure. Happy Thanksgiving.
John Traver with us this morning at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, John. And Ted, when we decided to make LLS our mission all the way through the event in March 2022, we reached out to Jim Brewer and his incredible team, including Christina Stuckey, and they put us in touch with our next guest, who everyone affectionately calls Dr. Lou. Joining us today and tomorrow for a two-part presentation on the incredible work done by LLS is the president and CEO of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Dr. Louis DeGennaro.
With us this morning is Dr. Louis DeGennaro. He is the president and the chief executive officer at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Dr. Lou, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hello, Ted. Very happy to be here.
We're very honored to have you, first of all, and it's a cause very dear to my heart and to others on the show as well. And the Fixed Operations Roundtable, Fixed Ops Roundtable, has an audience of dealers, general managers, service managers, and parts managers, and it really revolves around that retail industry, which is so historically been very, very generous with charities such as yours.
Yes, I know that. It's great to be with you and looking forward to the conversation today.
Dr. Lou, from what I understand, for more than 70 years, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has been helping to improve the lives of all blood cancer patients, survivors, caregivers, and their families. And I know that last part is so important. Talk to us today about LLS and how your organization is making strides against blood cancers.
Sure. So I'm very proud to say that the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is a global leader in the fight against blood cancers. Ted, you mentioned family. LLS was founded over 70 years ago by a father and mother who lost their teenage son to leukemia. And it was really their grief and their desire to have no other family go through the same devastation and the same challenges that they did that caused them to found the organization. You know, I have a one-page document they wrote in 1955 that describes the goals and objectives of the organization. Raise funds, support research, find a cure, and assist needy patients. Those were their exact words. And I'm really proud to tell you that we're still, after 70 plus years, attached to and working toward those goals and objectives set out by the founders so long ago. You know, since they created the organization, we've been able to invest more than $1.3 billion in cutting edge research to bring new therapies to patients and to advance cancer research and treatments faster than we ever imagined would be possible in the past. New treatments like immunotherapies and precision medicine. Especially with the pandemic, you need to know that we continue to be the leading source of free blood cancer information for patients and caregivers and even medical professionals. Information, education, support, one-on-one assistance, financial aid for patients as well. Wow. And we even have a small arm that works in Washington, D.C. to help educate legislators so that they make smart decisions in the best interest of cancer patients when they're passing legislation. Wow. So it's a 360 view: research, education, and support, and advocacy with the patient at the center. That's who we are.
Wow, you do so much. And what a tremendous story starting way back 70 years ago. I didn't realize. You mentioned that LLS is the leading source of one-on-one support for blood cancer patients and the families and the caregivers. Tell us how you support, or tell us how the support you provide is making a difference.
I'll take you back to that line in the founders document. It said, "Assist needy patients." Yeah. And that's what we're really here to do. It's the heart and soul of this organization. We have, for example, a group of oncology nurses and social workers who staff our 800 number and our chat line and our emails, and they're there to support patients and families, help them understand the complicated diagnosis, help them understand the medical mumbo jumbo, and be certain that they get the best care. They can get to the right doctor, they can get on the right clinical trial, whatever they need in order to have the best outcome possible. So it can be one-on-one personalized support. It can be support in a group setting. It can be in person or virtual. We've gotten very good at helping patients virtually. We've got a program called First Connection, where we connect a newly diagnosed patient with a patient who has experienced the same diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
So who better to connect with than someone who's been there, right? And we facilitate that connection so that they can interact with one another and benefit from one another's experience. I'll just tell you one more thing. We've got something called the LLS Community. This is an online portal where patients can connect with us and we can give them up-to-date information. And they can also connect with one another so they can support one another in sort of a social network environment. So that's just a few examples of the kinds of things that we're doing.
Dr. Liu, that support network is so important. I think back when I was a young man just getting started in the car business. I sold cars for 10 or 11 years. I remember one of my fellow salespeople had a son who was diagnosed with leukemia, and he went very fast. And so much has happened in that time, on the side of the treatments. Yeah. You mentioned that LLS has invested more than $1.3 billion, billion with a B, in cancer research. Can you talk a little bit about some of the impact of this investment?
Let me, I could wave my hands a lot about the phenomenal research that we're doing, but let me give you two examples, okay. Ted. One is a drug called, it was the first ever targeted therapy. It's called a tyrosine kinase inhibitor. And this is a drug that LLS helped to create and get FDA approved back in 2001. Here's why it's so remarkable. Most cancers are treated with toxic chemotherapy that not only kills the cancer, but hurts the good cells in the body as well. The tyrosine kinase inhibitors target the bad acting gene in the cancer called chronic myeloid leukemia and leave the good cells of the body alone. So there are very few side effects with this drug. Now, let me tell you what it's done for the patient experience. In the year 2000, before these drugs were approved, when a patient was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia, their doctor would give them essentially a death sentence. They would say you had 3 years to live. Fast forward to today, A patient newly diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia does not get a death sentence from their physician. They get a prescription. They go to their local pharmacy, they fill that prescription, and they treat their cancer at home, taking 2 pills a day.
Yeah.
They live a long, healthy life. The current life expectancy of a 60-year-old person diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia is 30 years. So basically a normal lifespan.
Wow.
That's the kind of that's what success looks like to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Now, more recently, I mentioned immunotherapy. There's a new kind of immunotherapy called CAR T immunotherapy, and we pioneered it in the blood cancers. It's been approved for leukemia and lymphoma, and just about 2 weeks ago for another blood cancer called multiple myeloma.
Right.
Ted, this is, I don't know how to say it any other way, this is Star Wars medicine. What we've been able to do is take a deadly virus. You know, we talk a lot about viruses these days. We've been able to take a deadly disease virus, the HIV virus, the virus that causes AIDS, and we've been able to turn it into a tool for doing good. So CAR T therapy is carried out by taking the cancer patient's own blood cells out of their body into the laboratory. Those cells are infected with a crippled version of the AIDS virus. It can't cause disease any longer. What it does is reprogram the patient's own immune cells to become cancer fighters. And when those cells are put back into the patient, they find and attack and eliminate the cancer. More than 50% of the patients who are treated with CAR T immunotherapy are cured of their disease.
Wow,
cured. I don't get to use the cure word very often.
Yeah.
But these patients are cured of their disease. This is I called it Star Wars medicine. It really is. We're very proud of the fact that LLS funded the research that led to this breakthrough. We're certainly happy that it's being used in the blood cancers, but I'm really excited about the fact that CAR T immunotherapy is now being tested for almost every other cancer you can think of. Breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, brain cancer. You know, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if it's going to work for all of those other cancers, but my scientific gut tells me it's going to work for some of them, and it's going to be a huge advance for other forms of cancer as well, not just blood cancer.
I mentioned to you that I'm personally affected by this disease. I have CLL, and I was diagnosed a number of years ago. And I was diagnosed later in life, which a lot of people, typically are, and are surprised, as I was surprised when I got that diagnosis. But I've learned so much about leukemia and a lot of the cures, a lot of the things that are available to prolong a normal life, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
One of the aspects of what your organization does has been a commitment to invest in more pediatric cancer research and support. Tell us about the LLS Children's Initiative.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to tell you about that. But Ted, you pointed out something a second ago that I want to reiterate. You know, when you hear the word leukemia, you frequently think of children. But actually 10 times more adults, and actually older adults, get blood cancer, get leukemia than children do. These diseases are actually diseases of an older population. The average age of diagnosis for a blood cancer is about 60 years old. And so historically, much of our effort has gone into finding treatments for older adults because they're the biggest patient population. And, in the last 4 years, the FDA has approved 90 new treatments for blood cancers. Now, I know you're not a drug developer, so let me put it into context for you. Historically, one new treatment a year would be good. I actually remember one year we had 3 FDA approvals. In the 16 years I've been with LLS, we had 3 FDA approvals one year, and I was dancing on my desk. 3 approvals in 1 year. To have 90 in the last 4 years is truly remarkable. Here's the sad thing. only one of them was for kids.
Mm.
So we have to do something about that.
We're putting up for our audience today. On the screen is a QR code along with a link where if you'd like to take your smartphone, open the camera, and go ahead and scan that QR code, or just click or type in a link, and you'll be able to make a donation right now to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society towards our goal of $100,000 at this event and on our next event to help support Dr. Lou and all the great things that they are doing to wipe out blood cancers here and throughout the world. Dr. Lou, I've got to ask you one last question. A lot of exciting things and important things are happening at LLS. How else can people get involved?
The best way is to become a volunteer. The volunteers are superheroes for us. They're what makes the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society tick, and that's what drives our mission every day. People can certainly volunteer to be fundraisers and join a fundraising event like our Light the Night Walk. They can come to Washington, D.C. with me and knock on the doors of their legislators. I live in Connecticut, and I can catch the ear of the Connecticut congressional delegation, but other states' delegations don't listen to me. So they can come with me to Washington and help make the case for cancer patients and what's right for cancer patients. It's volunteers like this that are changing the lives of cancer patients every day, frankly, saving lives of cancer patients every day. So I hope some of you folks will join us and volunteer.
Dr. Lou and I would like to take this opportunity to challenge all of the dealers and the sponsors here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable to go ahead and participate in Pay It Forward and make a donation right now to support LLS. Again, the QR code and both the link are on the screen. You can make a donation right now and support this worthy cause, and do just as Tom Dahl at Subaru and Liza Borges and Adam Aarons have done, and take on blood cancers. Dr. Lou, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable and the retail automotive community, we want to thank you so much, and to LLS for the great work that you're doing.
Ted, it's been my pleasure. Every dollar brings us closer to a world without cancer, and that's my goal. Thank you for having me.
Everybody, you can make a difference. Please join us on this quest. Dr. Lou, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ted and Dr. Lou. And folks, you'll want to be here again tomorrow for part 2 of Ted's discussion with Dr. Lou and his reaction to a surprise announcement that will be coming up later in the event today. More of Pay It Forward is coming up. Stay with us.
My name is William Yank. I'm a 23-year-old 3-time leukemia survivor. It was a very, very wild, anxious ride on whether I was even going to live. Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was this unforeseen blessing for me because I wouldn't have been able to get CAR T-cell therapy. We are about 9 months post-transplant and feeling very healthy, strong, and I live.
To give or get help, visit lls.org.
All right. Now, first off, I want to thank God, because that's who I look up to. He has graced my life with opportunities that I know not of my hand or of any human hand. He has shown me that it is a scientific fact that gratitude reciprocates. And here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, we're grateful for all of you. And to hear from those who are celebrating 50 years in business like BG Products and Andy Balasari, and those who are the future of our industry and our world, like the students from Northwood University. They're both coming up next. And remember to support LLS. All right.
In 1971, our 7 founders turned an idea into a business. Today, we celebrate 50 years of innovation in the automotive aftermarket, leading the pack every step of the way. We wanted a way to show recognition for all the people who helped this small Midwestern company become a global leader in automotive maintenance. A logo is a symbol of who you are and what you do. This logo is centered around 50 years, which marks BG's major milestone. The ribbons on the side represent this great celebration. The shield signifies strength through products, through partnership, through character. The oil drop is iconic throughout the BG family, representing quality products. The 7 stars are a tribute to the 7 founders. If only they could see us now. Thank you for your continued support as we drive to a successful future together. Please join us in celebrating BG's first 50 years.
Andy Baldessari is the Director of Marketing and Training at BG Products. BG Products is the leader in the industry and a great, great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Andy, welcome to the event.
Thanks, Ted. Really excited to be here. This Pay It Forward theme is really close to my heart, being Director of Marketing and Training. I've had so many people invest in my life, and I love to talk about the best ways to develop your people. And there's never been a better time to invest in your people. So very excited to be here. And, BG, we've always tried to be more than just a products company. We want to be a partner, and really we are a partner beyond products.
Hey, I got to tell you, just first off, congratulations to BG Products on your first 50 years in business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the first 50 years, well, like I've been here 4 years. So like they told me when I got here, we sit on the shoulders of giants, right? They built an amazing company. And really, the people that have been with the company 30 some years, 40 years, they've paid it forward to the people who are here now. And they've invested and imparted their knowledge to us. And really, we take that very seriously to care for the company that they've created and continue to provide value in the marketplace.
BG has a great name as well as a great product. And you just mentioned a little bit earlier that concept of partners beyond products. Elaborate on that, if you would.
Yeah, so, anybody can put products on the shelf, right? And anybody can get a dealership products, but, you really need to be more than that. So other than the best products in the world, we really focus on our people. First of all, we have, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 10 times the amount of representatives in the field. So that's a strength that we have, but dropping off product really doesn't help the dealer. So we really invest in the training of our reps. So we have what's called BG University. It's an 18-month program that teaches everything from the equipment that's going to be installed in your dealership and how do we train effectively to do the services safely, all the way to service drive training. What's a good process? What's a good menu presentation? What's a good customer experience? So we invest a lot in our reps so that they can come to dealerships and really help develop your people. And let's just stop there for a second, because if we're helping you develop your people at a dealership, they're going to be more successful. And if they're more successful, what are they going to do? They're going to stay, right? We're going to retain them. They're going to be more successful. They're going to make more money. They're going to be happier. They're going to stay with your dealership. And we all know turnover is a huge expense. So, being a partner beyond products to us is not just moving more BG products, which we love to do, but we're investing in the lives of the people that work at your dealership. So that's what I mean by partner beyond products. We have a lot of resources to ensure your success. Developing the people at your dealership is the most important thing we do.
And Andy, employee retention in the segments that are coming up both today and tomorrow are a big part of what we're going to be talking about at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. So I think what you're telling us today is extremely timely. I've been to Wichita, I've been to your headquarters, and I got to tell you, not only do you invest heavily in the research and development of that product and the best products, but now the things that you've got, the elements you've got to support the dealers and the dealer network, as well as your people, the boots on the ground with your distributor network, are second to none. Andy, what shop level support does BG provide in addition to your well-trained network of BG reps?
Yeah, so our in-store training is really one of the biggest differentiators that we have. But in addition to that, we have a video-based online training called BG Certified that has vignettes of how to offer the services, how to perform the services. It's really an amazing program. In addition to that, we have an industry-first augmented reality experience called BG Experience, where it actually does a great job for training advisors and technicians on the service, but you can also use it to show customers of why you're offering these services. And it's a really high-tech, cool way to show customers the value of doing a service. The other things are we have two very bespoke apps, one for advisors, one for technicians that has the investment of training for their specific roles and how to help them, but also things in the tech app like how to connect to vehicles, common issues with doing a service, and helping them have that just-in-time training, that just-in-time resource they need to succeed. And then in addition to that, we have Smart VMA, which is a fantastic menu software. Every customer, every time, gives you the reporting that you need to know what your advisors are doing, what menus were offered, what customers were there. So we have a lot of resources in addition to just the product. Again, that theme of partners beyond products is BG Products.
You know, BG's 50 years in business is not by accident, certainly. And I can tell from what you're telling us right now, you've been investing constantly into the future and in the future of fixed ops operations at dealerships. Just tell us a little bit more about some of this technology. Just elaborate a little bit further, if you don't mind, because I think there are a lot of folks at the retail level who don't realize how much BG does in that area.
Well, I would say some of the most impactful things we've done recently is with our mobile apps. So the tech app, for example, BG Tech. A lot of times connecting to vehicles, especially transmissions, can be complicated. And if technicians are finding it difficult to connect, then they don't do the services. And then the advisors don't end up offering the services, and it's just a downward spiral. So we try to make it very easy. So in that app, there's a quick reference guide to complicated vehicles to hook up to. You know, here's a quick reference guide. There's 3 ways to connect to this vehicle. And it actually shows them, here's the adapters you need. Here's the compatible BG fluid that goes with that. That's meets the OE standard. So making it very easy to find the resources they need. They don't have to go to a computer and log into a site and then navigate that site. It's right there in the handheld. They can get it within, 30 seconds. They've got the information they need.
You know, I think a fairly new term in the fixed operations business is marketing. And, we've heard a lot about that and been familiar with that on the sales side, of course. But now dealerships, especially since the season of COVID, have gotten into marketing of their service and parts. Tell us a little bit about what BG is doing on the marketing front.
Yeah, so on the marketing side of things, we are really developing and actually currently developing, you'll see in January, we're relaunching what we've had for a while called BG Find a Shop. And this is how we help drive traffic to BG stores, but what we're really enhancing that site to be is to be also a consumer education. As automotive professionals, our job is to educate the customer on the proper maintenance of their vehicle. And we talk about this a lot at BG University, but the technology has changed from that 1998 VW and its horsepower and its transmission with 4 gears or 5 gears compared to these transmissions with 8, 9, and 10 speeds today, GDI engines. The maintenance plan is completely different. But consumers don't realize that when they're buying this latest and greatest technology. So a big part of that BG Find a Shop site is now going to be driven towards consumer education, car care guides and tips, and building trust in the brand at the consumer level, and then driving them again to BG shops.
And I think at the consumer level, like you're saying, people are looking for more and more information. And some of the people who've been on our roundtable in the past, among them Lizette Gohl from Google, showed us how many customers like to do things themselves as well. So there's different stages in the customer experience of where they are. What results have you seen from all of these efforts that you're putting in right now?
Yeah, so typical results are, in the 30 to 40% penetration on maintenance labor services. which, in many cases they're higher, but we do analysis all the time. And as you know, Ted, many dealerships are in single digits there. And so it's mind blowing. The processes are there. We can make a huge impact, but a lot of it comes back to that partner beyond products, because not only the process, but our team in the field, they help hold your advisors accountable to proper menu presentation, every customer, every time. We're reinforcing those messages that we've known for years and really decades. These are the processes that work. A lot of the time, it's just accountability to make sure they're following those processes. We're another step another hand that can help make sure that accountability is there.
So BG provides not only the products, but the support along the way. And you do that with a distributor network, not just here in North America, but throughout the globe. Tell us a little bit about that, and how dealers can typically reach out, to get more assistance from their distributor, or if they're not a BG dealer today, how to get in on the game.
Yeah, so if you go to bgprod.com, you can find your distributor. In the last 50 years, I say we sit on the shoulders of giants, because the last market analysis we did, over 50% of dealers are using BG products today. So thank you, all of the dealers that do business with us. Many of you can reach out to your reps and even just talk about, hey, I heard about some of these new tools. Many of you already have these tools in your shops, but if you don't, you can download those apps. You can talk to your rep about the latest and greatest things. And if you're not currently using BG, definitely go to the website and put in a request. Someone will reach out to you and we'll be in touch.
Andy, did you say greater than 50% market share?
Yeah, with new car franchises, BG, the last two analyses we've done over 50% of the market. So again, and that really comes to our distributor network. They do a fantastic job. As I talked in the opening, we have 3, 4, 5 times, sometimes 10 times the reps in the field, which means we're not worried about just dropping off product. We are worried about how can we develop a program that is successful, not only for ourselves, but it has to be successful for the dealership. Otherwise, it won't be successful for us. And imparting that knowledge from previous BG people in the last 35 years, many of them told me selling is getting it on the shelf at a dealership. But I think dealers know that carry maintenance products know that they don't get off the shelf without a good process. And so training comes in to actually move the product off the shelf. So we focus a lot on that. We talk a lot to our reps about that at BGU. So quite frankly, it's all about investing in the people at the dealership for any successful program, whether it's selling cars, whether it's fixed operations, it's all about the people.
And as you know, a lot of OEMs and other companies have gone away from that relationship of having somebody physically call on the dealership and be there to support the dealership at that level. You've done exactly the opposite. You've invested in putting more folks out there to help what you just said, not just get the product on the shelf, but now get that in the customers' vehicles. And, my hat's off to you for doing that. Finally, Andy, what would you say are the challenges your team experiences in working with shops right now?
Well, that's a great question, Ted. The biggest challenge, as you know, being a trainer in the field, is habits don't change overnight. It's going to take focus. It's going to take energy. It's not let's go do one training event and light everybody's hair on fire and they're all going to change their ways. The reality is it's going to take a great process. It's going to take accountability, and it's going to take repetition. And I always quote this guy, Hermann Ebbinghaus. If you look it up, 1885, he discovered that humans are not good at retaining information. Big surprise. Well, in 1885, there was no social media and all the things that we have today, but he found that we are going to forget 50% of the information within an hour of hearing it. And over 30 days, you're going to lose 90%. So how do you combat that? What you do is you have to have a focused, spaced learning approach. You don't want to just focus on one thing one month and another thing the next month. You need to get proficient over 90 days, putting in a program, making sure the entire team understands it, and it's second nature before you move on to that second process. So you can do that through a lot of the tools I've been talking about with training, whether it's augmented reality, live training, online training. We focus on multiple pieces that our reps can come in and actually do a spaced learning approach, so that then your people actually absorb the material and use it to their benefit, to the customer's benefit, and ultimately the dealership's benefit.
That spaced learning, spaced repetition learning, Andy, I believe in that so much. And as you know, you're right. We forget what we just heard, an hour ago, let alone 30 days ago. So you've really got all the tools out there, whether it's online, whether it's virtual, whether it's in dealership, and of course, BG University at your location as well. You put on some amazing classes at your facility.
We do. And even this room that you're looking at right here, this is the BG TV studio. So we do live streams multiple times a month to our reps to make sure that they're up to speed on the latest and greatest. These engine cutaways, I know Zach Galifianakis has a show, Between Two Ferns. We've got Between Two Cutaways. So how do you like that?
I think it's perfect. Andy, if there's any words of wisdom that you want to impart on our audience today, what would it be?
Well, I always think about Zig Ziglar in these moments. And again, a lot of people invested in me. They had me reading Think and Grow Rich when I was a young salesman at a dealership. They had me on the Covey system, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Dale Carnegie. So again, pay it forward. I just love the idea of the theme of this, of, what can you do to invest in your people? But I always think about Zig Ziglar, because he said, you don't build a business, you build people, and then they build your business. And so I talk to my reps all the time about that, is stop worrying about making the sale and stop worrying about, that thing. Focus on investing in those people at the dealership, and they will grow your business. You're going to help grow that shop. And then you're also going to grow your BG business naturally, but it will be sustainable because you invested in the people.
BG Products, focused on doing the right thing. Andy, if our audience wants to reach out to you for more information on BG, how do they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is just my first initial last name at bgprod.com. Or go to bgprod.com, click on the distributor locator, and it will get you in touch with your local distributor.
BG Products, the leader in the industry, and Andy Baldassari, the Director of Marketing and Training, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, we are thrilled to be joined now by an amazing group from Northwood University for this panel, sponsored by CDK Global. And one reason that we are so excited is because we're passionate about building future leaders, as are LG Bright and Mike Stoll. Gentlemen and students, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Good to see you.
And I'd also like to welcome possibly up to 200 students who are currently joining us from Northwood University. Welcome, everybody. Okay, folks, I want to get started. And in fact, because this is a university, I'm going to go ahead and put my glasses on here. And I want to get started with LG. LG, you are the Chairman, Automotive Marketing Management and Management for Northwood University. And the first question I have for you is, what are the common career aspirations that you see from the students in the Automotive Marketing and Management program at Northwood University?
Well, thanks, Gene. That's a great question. I see students that want to go into the retail-facing automotive industry. So some of my students want to go to dealerships. Some want to go to OEM. Some want to go to finance companies, marketing companies, startups. Some will be in banks, insurance adjusters, anybody that calls on the retail industry, anybody that calls on dealerships. And so students are on a path of discovery. So some come from the retail industry, some come seeking a spot in the retail industry calling on dealerships. So, anecdotally, we probably get, 50%. I might have a dealer kid that ends up with a manufacturer, and I might have somebody that begins and says, hey, I want a corporate career, and they end up to go into a management program with a dealership.
And you guys have been doing this for a long time, and it's the students come out extremely well prepared. I've been in retail automotive since the mid 90s and have worked with a number of your students. Kind of a follow-up question here is, what recommendations do you have for prospective students and their families that would like to know more about Northwood University and the Retail Automotive Marketing and Management program?
Well, one suggestion would certainly be to go to our website, northwood.edu, and search for the automotive curriculum. But two, we would love to have prospective students that either join us virtually. We have the ability to remote them into a class, or if it fits in their schedules, to come on campus. There's no better ambassadors than the students that are currently going to talk about the student experience. And in fact, in each and every class, I usually have somebody that has come on and is a prospective student and sits in on a class. And then our students know we're going to start with relationships. They're going to introduce themselves, tell about their career aspirations, tell you what's cool about them, where they hope to end up, what they did last summer. And that type of interaction is very valuable, and it's priceless.
And, you just mentioned your students are the best ambassadors. I'm going to kind of break tack here just a little bit. And I'm going to start with Giovanna and then go up to the gentleman. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what attracted you to Northwood, why you got involved, and then we'll continue on.
Hi, so my name is Giovanna. What attracted me to Northwood was the class sizes, that the university is so small and intimate. That was one thing that I wanted when I was looking for colleges and universities. And then I kind of fell into the automotive program. I came in as a marketing student, but realized that my talents are within the automotive program. Luckily, I was at the right school as well. So that's kind of how I got to be here at Northwood.
That's exciting. Connor.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm in my senior year here at Northwood, and I have loved every year of it. The things you learn here versus any other university, it's unmatched, to be honest with you. And that's not me coming from a biased opinion. That's me coming from a knowing opinion. Having friends going to other universities and comparing what their curriculum looks like to our curriculum, it's far to none. You can't compare it, to be honest with you. Another reason why I came here actually is Northwood offers a lot of scholarships. So this was the cheapest option for me to go to the university. I came in here as a finance major, and just like Giovanna, I fell in love with the program, and I've been learning everything nonstop since that.
That's awesome. And we're excited to hear more from the three of you here shortly. Dominic?
Hey, so I came to Northwood specifically for the automotive program. It was kind of word of mouth that my dad heard from NADA, and I kind of did my own research and realized that the class sizes were small, like Giovanna said, and there's a lot of interaction between you and your professor. And the main thing is that our professors actually do have the industry experience that they're teaching us. So it's not us just reading out of a textbook. It's what's currently going on in that field.
And speaking of one of those professors, Mike Stoll, we appreciate you and CDK Global sponsoring this. You're the Senior Director of Performance Management. And I'd like to know, how did you get involved with Northwood University as an adjunct professor for the Retail Automotive Marketing and Management program?
Yeah, that's a great question. Gene, thanks again for you and Ted for having us on. There's several employees at CDK Global that went to Northwood with extremely successful careers, and several of our customers, have gone to school here. I used to work at a dealership about 8 miles from here years ago, and it's the beginning of retail automotive. So they were looking for a person to help in the lab on the strategy, as opposed to the nuts and bolts. And my name got surfaced around, and I had a nice little conversation with my friend LG here, and we've known LG for a long time, and it just worked out. And it's good for me to be able to help give back to the future, which is part of what we do. And it's good for CDK Global because the majority of the students here are our customers' children and grandchildren. And it's just it's been an amazing semester. I'm probably learning more from them, Gene, than they're teaching me. So,
and I hear you with that because as a trainer, I like to say when I go out into dealerships, I learn more from them than I'm probably delivering to them. But that leads me to another question. What have you learned from your engagements with the students at Northwood University?
Well, first off, they're extremely knowledgeable on the industry. The other professors in the university have done a great nuts and bolts from a process standpoint, industry acumen, financial statements from a marketing perspective. So the strategy and the workflows that I'm putting them through is, okay, how do we take that classroom knowledge and actually put it into an application to make money or take our cost at a car dealership? So when you take the entire team of professors and the students and put them together, they know the right questions to ask. I go home every day. I talk to my wife and I just shake my head. And the more customers I talk to at CDK, I tell them what's going on. And the more I tell them, the more they want to get involved. And you'll see by the presentation and the problem that they're trying to solve, Gene, coming up here in a minute, that the work that they're doing is industry breaking. You know, they know what needs to happen in order to improve fixed coverage. They know, that the customer pay labor is defected from the industry, and they know that to drive that fixed coverage up and win back that CP labor, that's what they wanted to learn about. So when you see the presentation that they put together for a couple of dealer principals, you're going to be extremely pleased and proud that the future looks extremely bright from these very gifted young people.
Wow. Well, I'm excited to hear about it. Before we get there, besides that particular project, what other types of projects do you have your students working on?
Well, there's you have to first understand the acumen. You crawl, walk, run, Gene. So you talk about what is the biggest problem that we're trying to solve, and they were a little bit amazed that the average car dealership has about 1,300 processes a day. And when we talked about the defection of the $420 billion in customer pay labor in North America, and that the dealers were losing that, they stopped me and they said, "How do we fix that?" And then we talked about the 5 basic principles that a car dealership operates: the people, process, data, technology, and how you're going to measure. They came up with themselves that they need to have an improved process between the consumer and the dealer, and we'll get the measured outcomes we're looking for, and eventually drive up this fixed coverage and win the CP labor back. So it didn't take them very long to figure out what problem they wanted to solve. And once they got into it, they had some challenges. The consumer side and the retail side was struggling a little bit trying to line up their workflows. But once they got it and the light bulbs clicked, it was a lot of fun. And then you'll hear what the outcome of those dealer presentations were, from these gifted young students as they talk through the rest of this conversation. So.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And you kind of teased it there just a little bit, Mike, saying that it didn't take them long for them to come up with what the problem was that they wanted to solve. So, Yvonne, I'm going to come to you with that question. What was the retail automotive problem that you and your team were looking to solve in Mike's class?
So the problem that we saw is that there is $420 billion being put into the service department and service revenue. And in 2019, dealerships had 21% of that $420 billion. But then it dropped to 19% in 2020. So, which is an issue because that means that people are pulling their cars from being worked on in dealerships and they're servicing them through other means.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of see that myself, being in the industry and understanding the numbers a little bit. How did you go about designing the workflow to solve the problem?
That was a lot of fun. When we were designing this workflow, we were all sitting together thinking about what the dealership needs to do to ensure that their customers have a great experience while executing the services in an appropriate way that is effective and efficient. So while thinking about this, we were also asking ourselves the questions of what would the customer want? How would they want to be treated? And how would they want their visit to be? We were able to put together a workflow that made the service department more efficient, all while maintaining customer experience and encouraging customers to return, and also bring in more customers with word of mouth.
Wow, that's great. Dominic, what is the goal of the fixed operations workflow that you and your team members designed?
So the primary goal of the workflow that we designed was to increase the service efficiency, satisfy our current customers while trying to bring back our old customers, and more importantly, to improve our service department's long-term fixed coverage.
Okay, and were you able to get this out, Connor, to maybe dealer principals and share your workflow design with anybody?
Yes, Gene, we actually were. We presented in front of 2 dealer principals in class, one being Lisa Rechsteiner from the Graph Automotive Group based out of Bay City, Michigan, and the second person being Richard Watson out of the Watson Automotive Group. And we presented to them in class about our workflow that we created, and we got feedback and any potential changes or suggestions they had, they would make to this workflow.
Okay, so let's go to those suggestions. What was the outcome of the presentation? What'd you get back?
So they basically had invited us to come in and act as consultants, I would say. That'd probably be the right word to fit in there. And we'll get to sit through what their service lane looks like, their workflow process, experiment with our thoughts, go back to them with their management team, and hopefully get a written out process for all the stores to go off of and benefit and hopefully increase their bottom lines. We actually have a presentation with our creative workflow if you'd like us to share with you on that.
Oh, absolutely. Would love to. Yvonne, would you step us through that?
Yes. So we begin with the problem that I had mentioned earlier, which is that the service department is seeing a decrease in the fixed coverage percentage. So in 2019, it was 21%. Here you can see in 2020 that it has declined. And then, as I mentioned, also is the goal that we have is to increase the service efficiency, satisfy current customers, and regain lost customers. Also to improve long-term fixed coverage. The national average is 51%. So we want to be able to achieve that and go above and beyond that as well. So as I talked about how we thought of this workflow, putting together the dealership, putting together the customer experience. So it begins with the introduction to the service department. So once a customer purchases a car, it is important that our salespeople introduce the customer to the service department, walk them over to the service department, have them be familiar with the faces in the service lane, with the service advisors, the service manager. We want them to be able to feel like they're welcome, that they're family immediately. And so once this happens, the customer knows the process of scheduling appointment. So once they get into that, they call us, schedule an appointment. And then when that appointment time comes, we give them a call 48 hours in advance, to confirm their appointment. We do this so that the customer knows that we value them. We want to make sure that they do come in. We also do this so that we can confirm the reason for their visit. This helps us on a dealership side so that we know the specific reason that they're coming in. And if we do not have the parts on hand, that we can order them in advance and make sure that the parts are there for the time when they get there. And also, when confirming the appointment, we like to offer our customers a multi-point inspection, a complimentary multi-point inspection. We like to tell them this just so that the customer knows that they have the option to. We value our customers' time, so we want to give them the option to stay the extra 10 minutes if they have it, to do this inspection as well. And then we also take into consideration the unexpected visitors to the service department, which are either walk-ins, tow-in, drop-off. So it's along the same lines of the process. We make sure to see why they're here, the reason for their visit, see if we can verify that we have the parts in stock. And then also, since they're here, if they would like to do a complimentary multi-point inspection as well. And then our process goes into once the customer arrives. So we want to make sure that our service porters greet the customer, and if they cannot immediately greet them, we want them to acknowledge our customer, to, look at them, give them a wave, say, thank you, for being here, but I will get with you once I can. And then once they're able to get to our customer, they get into the interview process, which is asking the customer, do you have an appointment with us, to make sure whether they fall into the category of scheduled or unexpected, and then ask them a little bit more questions. Do they know who their service advisor is, their reason for visit, just so that the service porter can do a little bit more investigation for our service advisor, gather all the information that they need. And if the dealership has the proper tools, to also do a key read as well. We also want our service porters to do a walk around of the vehicle with our customer, just to point out any damage to the car that either they were not aware of, and so we can point it out to them so that they know before they, give us their car and then later say, oh, there was a damage. So just to make sure that we have that under control. After we do the little walk around, we want our service porter to walk our customer to the service advisor. And the service advisor will have all of the proper information that was gathered in the interview from the service porter. Then the service advisor will talk to our customer and say, again, reiterate the reason that they are here and walk them through what it's going to look like, which is they're going to send the car over to the technician and keep them in the loop. Once they do this, the service advisor will either walk our customer to the waiting room, and if they are not going to be waiting, the service advisor will walk the customer to the loaner department, shuttle department, make sure that they get all the resources that they need. We want to do this so that the customer knows that we care. We want to walk you to where you're going to be sitting. We want you to feel like you are at home and that you're taken care of. And the service advisor is going to also verify, once again, the parts that are associated with the correct customer, just to make sure that, once the car gets the technician, we have the necessary parts available so that we can immediately help our customer. Once we do that, it gets into the customer experience.
Can I, before you jump into the next segment there, can I ask a quick question regarding that process? What was the size of the dealership that you presented this to? How many techs? How many service advisors?
It was a medium-sized dealership, not too big, not too small. I'd like to say perfect size. They had 10 service advisors. Not exactly sure about the number of technicians, but I do know that they were able to keep a constant flow between the technicians and the service advisors as well. So they had a great system of being able to distribute the work evenly.
That's great. Thank you. Okay.
So kind of like how it says on the screen here, this part is all about the customer's experience. So we want to make sure that we get that down to a T. So first off, we want to start with, dispatching the labor. So we want to do that assigned to the technician's skill level. You don't want a lube tech, doing an engine job or vice versa. We want to do a full vehicle inspection, identify the cause of their concern, why they came in, head over to the parts department, price out some parts, get an estimate, and get that estimate to the advisor so they can let the customer know what's going on. Next, we want to go with the customer approval. So that's going to be the advisor walking through the entire report, what's wrong with the vehicle, like what you want to do. Identify any other concerns if there were any, and then the customer's either going to approve the work or it's going to disapprove the work. Next thing, we want to go through kind of the correction of the concern, do that multi-point inspection like we addressed earlier. If they did want to go through with that, they didn't want to waste their time and not go with it. We don't want to keep them at the dealership longer than they want to be there. And then we want to send a virtual update to the customer as well.
So the next part in the process is the review part. Really what you're looking for is to make sure that the work done matches the estimate, or if it doesn't match the estimate, explain why, the consumer knows from their standpoint. We also think it's important to share a walk-around video to this consumer. This video is meant to be from a tech standpoint, so we can show the consumer exactly what the tech sees and the kind of work that they're suggesting on it as well. The next step in this review process is to set up the next appointment. This is supposed to be either the declined work date that the technician offered. So maybe they don't want to get their engine fixed today, but maybe they want to get it fixed a couple months from now. The next thing would be the routine maintenance. This maintenance would be recommended by the manufacturer, and this would be on the manufacturer's routine maintenance schedule. The reason why we believe it's important to include this word track is so the consumer knows that you're suggesting what the engineers or the manufacturer is suggesting to get done with their car to make sure it's still in the prime working condition that you bought it in. There is 4 types of paid labor, those being customer pay, warranty pay, internal, or a walk-in customer to the vehicle. We believe that it is important to be flexible in the way that the consumer pays for their repair order, whether that being have a specific cashier, maybe you split up the responsibilities along the advisors, or maybe you come along in the 21st century and you have an app and allow the consumers to pay from that way as well. The next and most important part, and really, my opinion, the most important part of the process is the follow-up process. Getting the consumer back into your door so they keep paying for you, keep having that good experience, and keep coming back to you, buy their next car and the car so long after that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the service advisor's primary responsibilities when conducting that follow-up. So they're going to call them and go through the review declined work. The point of this is being that the service advisor has that relationship with the consumer. And so if they're telling them the urgency of the repair needed, it's more likely that the consumer will believe in that advisor versus your BDC agent. And they're also coming from a place of expertise, knowledge, experience, and the estimates, really the flow of how the service lane works. And so they can advise them on any future potential costs if they don't get it done today, what they might be looking at maybe a month from now. From what we've learned so far at Northwood University and some of our actual in-world experience, we believe that it's best to use your BDC as more of your CSI agent, getting to know where exactly they failed at and where they could be doing better at. They should be doing these follow-ups within 48 hours, as well as sending an email that way to get a reply on the survey.
And then we have an overview just to put it in perspective so you can look at the whole process. It begins with our introduction, then it goes into, the appointment, the visit, whether it's unexpected or scheduled, then it goes into the arrival, flows into the dispatch, works through the customer approval, works out into the work performed, goes down into review, customer pay, and then follow up. So in a nutshell, this is what our workflow looks like. And that concludes our presentation.
Well, thank you so much. That was awesome. And I know that there's more specific detail that goes into this than just what we saw here. Mike, I'd love to hear from you as the professor behind the scenes on this and helping to orchestrate this, a little bit more detail.
Well, Gene, I could ask these very gifted young people how much of this they knew the very first day of class.
So when I came into class, I knew just from my previous internship how the workflow of a service department should go, just from witnessing it myself. But it was funny when we were presenting this. Mr. Stoll asked us to put our hands up if we have been into a service department, and 90% of the class raised their hand. And then he asked the question of, have you seen a written workflow? And then almost every student put their hand down except one student. So that was what we know of a workflow is from what we've seen. But to see a step-by-step, that is something we haven't experienced up until being able to write one ourselves.
Yeah, and I would ask Dominic and Connor the same thing. There was a comment made earlier on that we had a lot of fun doing this, but I can tell you that we're in our 7th week working on this process, Gene, and the the first couple of weeks were like deer's eyes in the headlights. They understood fixed ops. They understood there were about 10 different KPIs that needed to get addressed. They quickly understood that the customer paid defection was a problem for them and the future of the industry. And then we broke them out into two groups. One group was writing the consumer workflow, and the second group was writing the dealership workflow. And when they came together, the workflows were like this. They weren't aligned. So they spent the next week trying to get them on the same page. And what they talked through today in our theory class was they should have got together quicker. The team doing the consumer and the team doing the dealership workflow should have got together quicker and actually worked through the stick figures. So they didn't just design the amazing presentation you saw. They went through stick by stick. If the customer says no, what do we do here? If the inspection says no, what do we do here? If there's decline work, where do we go here? I mean, they learned how to diagram and design a stick figure workflow to get both of them laying on top of each other. And wasn't it fun, Dominic? Connor, wasn't it a lot of fun?
It was a good learning opportunity, but it was a little stressful, and especially when you get to present in front of someone like Mike with all the experience and all the knowledge. You're always a little worried about what he's going to say, but it's always a good opportunity to learn and get better.
Yeah, that's great. So what is the next step? Now that you've done this part, what's the next place you're taking them, Mike?
Well, it's not a matter of where I'm taking them. We have two classes. We have a 10 o'clock group, or 10:30 group, and we have a 2 o'clock group. And I have to tell you, there's a tremendous amount of competition between the two groups. Different personalities, different dynamics. And it's been a lot of fun to watch them come together because they actually designed a similar workflow, even though they were in different settings. So we had dealer principals. Lisa from Graf Automotive Group in Bay City, Michigan was in last week. And the morning team presented to her. And about 3/4 of the way through, she said the timing is perfect for us to learn a new service workflow. Please come to my dealership. So they've got a date with her to go up there. They're going to do a couple things. They have all the leaders coming in. They have a process they're going to go through to review the current state, between the appointment, the service advisor, the tech parts. And then they're going to get together and look at the workflow that they wrote to figure out the gaps. And then they got a timing, they're going to present it back to the leadership group to see if they can put it in play. And both dealer principals, both Lisa and Richard Watson IV from the Watson Automotive Group, right through it went, oh my gosh, these millennials, we need to figure this out to win them back. They've got it figured out. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, yes, because you don't know, you don't know if they're seeing something different. But there was some things that the kids had, and I say kids endearingly, that had worked through that were different, and when I said earlier that there's things they taught me, Gene, that more than I taught them, I'm not kidding, because they understand they don't like to go to the car dealership for two reasons, cost and convenience, but they figured out through this workflow on how to improve that in order to win back the CP labor and drive up the fixed coverage. So it's a very gifted 200 plus automotive students here at Northwood University.
That's awesome. And you all did such a great job. And LG, I want to come back to you because we're now going to talk about how do we get more people in here. And I understand that the retail automotive industry provides internships and experiential learning opportunities for the Northwood students. What would a dealer or an OEM or an industry partner who's watching the show right now need to do to participate in these programs?
Well, thanks, Gene. I would say the first and foremost to contact me. Contact me at brighte@northwood.edu. That's BRIGHTE at Northwood.edu. And we'll set up the process. We'll customize it to the organization. We like to have a 10-week rotational, but understand that each organization may be different. They may be a concentration on fixed, on finance, on variable, on any number of different functional areas. And wherever that is, we can meet the needs of the organization while also educating these great students.
Wow. I'm just blown away. And so appreciative that you joined us here today. Yvonne, Connor, Dominic, thank you so much for your presentation, your hard work. And I look forward to seeing great things out of you in the future. And Mike Stoll and your support from CDK Global, thank you so much. And of course, LG Bright from Northwood University, thank you so much for joining us. And all the students. Yeah, all the students who have also joined in to share in this. Folks, you want to stick around because Pay It Forward has much more to come here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
These are the best moments when stress fades away and life can be enjoyed to its fullest. And helping people connect to these moments, that's what you do. Every day. Helping them find the car that's just right for them with an easy flow from website to showroom to financing. Ensuring that their car runs safely by sending reminders to show you're thinking of them and scheduling service that fits their busy lives. You're even helping keep their personal data protected. So times like these are worry-free. And we're here, behind you, every step of the way, through relationships built on years of listening and understanding. We bring the needed strength, knowledge, and experience to give you, our customers and partners, real peace of mind. Through our technology, we unify dealers, manufacturers, and software developers, sharing expertise and boosting collaboration for everyone's benefit. And by envisioning a future of innovative solutions, open platforms, and shared outcomes, we can shape our industry for years to come with the experiences consumers want. We don't take this unique opportunity for granted. The chance to do something truly special, to work at the heart of this industry, connecting it at every level, and taking it to new heights. We make the connections that move you. So together, we can create more moments like these.